Good morning. Today I want to talk to you about a unique scenario where we look at two farms directly across the street from each other, and one might be worth thousands of dollars per acre more than the other. And you have to ask yourself, how can that be possible? Well, when you start to fundamentally figure out how we value your farm and how you determine what your farm might be worth, then you start to see how this is a possible scenario. When we're looking about farm ground, just straight up farm ground, we're looking at its production capabilities, which is a function of the percentage of tillable acres to versus non-tillable, and the quality of the soil on those tillable acres. Those are the primary factors that determine the ability of that farm to make money, earn money, and create a return. And the higher the return, the higher the value of the farm. When we're looking at soil, we're looking at the soil quality, the types of soil, organic matter, the drainage, yield histories on that farm. All of these become factors in determining what a farm might be worth. There are other outstanding issues such as the flood risks, if there are any, the location of the property, future opportunities beyond agriculture that a farm might have. All of those things can affect value. When we're looking at a farm that has better drainage than another, that farm's going to have better long-term yields because you can control and manage the water, and you're not going to have the flood risks. When you have a farm that's got higher quality soils, it's going to perform better in good weather years versus a farm that may or may not be able to retain water or retain nutrients. Sandier soils, lighter soils, we call them, they're just not going to produce like a high organic matter, dark soil like you find here in the Midwest. That's really what makes the Corn Belt so special. We have very high density soils with a lot of organic matter. We also have adequate rainfall. We get a good systematic rainfall throughout the entire growing season in the summer. Very rarely do we go more than a week or 10 days without at least some kind of moisture. When we do have those times, we start calling that a drought or a near drought, and that affects commodity prices and everything else because production gets affected. When we're talking about your farm, how would I value your farm? Again, I'm going to look at these basic things we just covered. I'm going to look at not only the soil quality. I'm going to start looking at comparable sales, sales in your specific area that are most like your farm. So we have to figure out what your farm is and what its production capabilities are. And then we have to go out and find some farms that have similar production capabilities, similar soils that are in the same region where your property are, and see how they sold. We may have to go back 2 or 3 years to do that, which makes it hard to extrapolate the current market sometimes, but that's really the best indicator that we have of what your farm should be worth. And that's the way that buyers are going to look at it. Again, if there are other outstanding factors, if there is other things come into the community, if there's utilities being put in, things like that, all of those are going to be factors that move beyond the typical comparable sale and history essence. Is going to move you into a future and a speculation type atmosphere. So then you're looking for a buyer who sees those things, recognizes those things, and most likely is seeking that. But when we're talking about your farm, maybe the best owner isn't a farmer. Maybe it's an investor. Maybe it's a developer. Maybe it's somebody who wants to take the farm and cut it up into smaller pieces. Sometimes we have owners that don't want those things. They don't want to see the farm develop. They don't want to see it cut up. And that's important. The most important thing for you to know is that when you're selling your farm, you're giving up the right to control those types of things. And that's okay as long as you're getting paid adequately for that. We'll go back to, okay, how do we value your farm? Again, we want to look at those basic fundamental factors. High percentage tillable. When I say that, I'm talking about Those are the income producing acres. Woods are great. I'm sitting outside of a woods right now. They're great. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to be. But the returns aren't very good on a woods. A woods takes 30 to 40 years to grow to where it can be harvested. You only get one harvest every 25, 30 years. And even though it's a nice payout, when you get done, sometimes people look around and go, "Oh my gosh, what happened to my woods?" Well, you sold it. You converted it to cash in exchange for the timber, and that's an adequate way to go. But the payoffs are very few and far between. And so in the meantime, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay insurance, those kinds of things. And so that's where a wooded property isn't going to bring the kind of value that a cropland piece of ground will bring. That cropland's going to have a return on it every year. In today's market, we're seeing rates of return on farmland between 2 and 3%. Historic lows, quite honestly. We've always seen historically usually between 3.5 and 5 over the last 35, 40 years. Right now, we're under 3 in most cases. Depending on where you are, the better the ground, the more consistent the yields, the lower that rate of return seems to go. We've got a lot of values here in the Midwest that are between 14 and 22,000 an acre. Here in Indiana, our top end's not quite that high, but we've certainly seen our share of $20,000 an acre sales. The bottom end of that again is going to be $5,000 or $6,000 an acre for your non-tillable ground. For your cropland, your bottom end is going to be probably $7,000, $8,000 an acre. But most of that's going to come from a reflection of the fertility of the property and the growing capacity of that property, and what the average yields have been on that property. And that's what we're going to use to pay the mortgage, and that's what everybody's looking for. I hope this has been helpful. It's a place to start. If we move to the next steps and you say, "Gee, how do I determine my value?" I'm going to tell you to hire a good ag appraiser. He's going to give you a conservative value typically, but he's going to give you a value that he can justify and back up. And that's a good place to start. You move from that conservative value into what a more aggressive market value could possibly be. That's where you're going to find your good ag realtor. He's going to talk to you about how you might go about selling your farm, whether that's auction or private treaty. And the farm's going to tell us the answers to those questions when we look at it and start to evaluate what the potential might be. If I can answer any questions for you individually about your farm, give me a call, shoot me a text. Thanks.